Hi everyone, welcome to week 7. This is going to be a relatively short lecture because we are not going to focus on skill today. Instead, now that you have a rough draft, congratulations by the way, we are going to jump into critique. Now, when we were in class on ground in the fall, if you remember, we performed a series of critiques in class and we used varying techniques in order to somehow incite or inspire you all to find different ways of thinking about your writing and then apply it to someone else in the critique, which of course the goal of that is to then reflect it back onto your own methodology. Because obviously you won't always have a group of people there to help you fashion your writing. And what we are hoping to do is impress at least some kind of technique, some kind of considerations, some kind of ideation that you could identify in the various ways that we have approached critique to apply to your own work. Which one kind of fits you best? What kind of considerations must you make? And so this week, we are twofold. The discussion question is a reflection on your part, where now that you have completed this rough draft, you take a moment to just consider, okay, what came easiest to me? What was most challenging? And in that way, we begin to build a sense of understanding about our own writing practice and the way that we perform as writers. Let's say you found it easier to write the intro and the conclusion, or maybe it was arranging the research itself. Maybe it was the visualization project that helped you understand the trajectory of your argument. Maybe it was the logical order that you came up with. And of course, to also apply or to consider what was most challenging to you. So maybe it was the intro or conclusion. Maybe it was the arrangement of your information. So this is merely to take a breath and to really consider, okay, where are my strengths and where do I find the challenges? Okay? Try to stay in the research and writing process itself. Don't bring in time management and external factors because obviously we all have those, right? I mean, we are all sheltering in place and we don't have the typical contact that we normally would. It has been very stressful for a lot of us to even generate material and certainly to kind of be at our best game. So just think about that as an overall challenge and instead use this discussion question for you to consider what comes easiest to you, what is most challenging in the process itself. Cool? And then your colleagues are going to reply to your meditation. And what I encourage here is for you all to share strategies that you have of your own. Like maybe you have figured out a way to do intros that is more evocative than, let's say, the lecture that we all experienced in the fall. Or maybe you have a little tip for how to do ordering. Maybe you have a tip for transitions or the integration of your citation. Maybe if someone is struggling with finding a particular kind of research material that they feel would be pertinent for the success of their argument, one of you all can respond to that and go, hey, there's this website. So this is very interrogative in the discussion question so that we can share best practices. Because as the facilitator of this class, I, of course, am limited by my own purview when it comes to writing. And even though I try to find as many different strategies to engage in the development of these various aspects of writing, I don't think of them all. And if we rely on everyone in the class, we can utilize that collective genius as a way to maybe access the particular way that you're going to be a writer in the world. So really give that some love and attention, that discussion question. The only other assignment for this week, since I really want you to be focusing on your rough draft and developing it over the next few weeks, is the peer critique. Now, we did one of these in the fall, as you all know, but this one is much more involved. And I would say that this is the most important analytical assignment that you're given for the quarter. So I have my peer critique guidelines for you all, but I just want to share it in a more extemporaneous manner right now so that I can emphasize certain properties of this assignment and to make sure that you feel nice and secure so that you can give us the best effort on this one. First off, you're going to be assigned one particular peer, and you all will be paired up. In the case of our class, because we have an odd number, there's going to be one triage as well. What I'd like for you all to do is, prior to jumping into the written critique, which obviously your colleagues will share their rough draft with you, is to set up a video chat with your critique partner. Set up a time to chat so that you can interview each other. Find out what each other really wants to accomplish with the paper. These rough drafts are going to be in various stages of incarnation. So it's going to be important for you all to kind of meet them where they're at, right? So in this video chat, kind of communicate, okay, what is it that I intend to do with this paper? What do I desire from this paper? Share your challenges, because that way your peer reviewer knows what they can focus on in the critique. They can tailor the critique specifically to the needs of the partner. And that's going to be important, because the more we can get specific with this, the better we'll be at not only helping our colleague out, but that specificity lends itself to be able to be applied back to the writer. So as you all know, I've mentioned this many times, the critique process in many cases is more important for the one giving the critique, because then they begin to embody certain kind of critical considerations that they can apply to their own work. So just keep that in mind. It's obviously mutually beneficial, but the more specific we get, the better we become at critiquing, and thusly the better we become at writing. So in this peer critique assignment description, after you have done the video chat, you of course jump into the writing of this rough draft. What I have here are just a whole bunch of considerations. There are lots of questions in this. You don't have to answer them all. Okay? This is not to be a bullet point response. In fact, I would like you to make this narrative. So using complete sentences, not because I'm trying to torture you and make you write an essay, but it actually helps in the flow of ideas. As you write, many of you know this, you discover things. You begin with an intention, but then you discover things as you write. So I want you to write this in a narrative format instead of bullet points. These questions are merely guidelines if you want to use them. Maybe you want to use about 8 of them and apply it to the critique because it seems most apropos for this particular development of your peer's draft, yeah? But no matter what, the things that you need to do to make this a successful critique are threefold. One is identify what is working and not working, right? You want to do both. You want to celebrate what is working because that helps the writer know where their strength is. You want to also, of course, identify where you were confused or where you found it challenging or where it didn't quite feel like it was complete or comprehensive. Cool? 2, you want to provide examples of where you see these points in the draft. Remember, if you just kind of make a general comment like, the flow isn't working, well, a writer goes, ugh. Where do I apply that, right? It's too general. So make sure you have a for example in this particular section, and then highlight where you feel is most illustrative of the challenges or the triumphs that this particular writer engenders in this rough draft, okay? Then lastly, number 3, most important, this is urgent, pay attention to me right now, look at this beautiful mug. Provide suggestions wherever applicable and be specific. This is to help both of you out. You don't want to say you need to improve your overall flow, because the writer then goes, well, what do you mean by that? So after you have identified a place where hypothetically the flow is off, then you can make a suggestion for how to fix it. Okay? Now, you may be kind of saying to yourself, well, I don't feel particularly confident in providing suggestions. Zip it. Just take out the internal saboteur. You do know. And the more you articulate it, the more you identify, make the suggestion, even if you don't feel fully confident about it, the more confident you become. But you have to actually make that application. The more you do it, the better you get. And so this is both helping you and the person that you're critiquing. Cool, cool? So, of course, look at those questions, have them inspire you, but you don't have to emblemize all of them, okay? Typically, an effective comprehensive critique for this size runs, just historically, it runs about at least 3 pages. And it's mainly because it is narrative, right? You're not constructing an argument. You're able to kind of flow a little bit here. However, there is no minimum or maximum number of pages required. You know that I'm not really a stickler about that, because some of you are more concise writers. Some of you, it takes a while to kind of move through what you're thinking about, and that is perfectly fine. The way this is being evaluated is not based on size, it's based on being clear and comprehensive, where you identify specifically, you make critiques and suggestions that are specific and clear, and it's useful for your peer. Ultimately, that's what it's about, right? It's about helping them. So kind of focus your energies there on how you can make this work for the intention of your peer. And like I said, this is the absolute most important analysis we'll do in the class. And please give it your all, which is the reason why there are no other requirements this week. Okay? In addition, you want to be thinking about your own paper as you critique your peer, right? The more you're kind of conscious of what you're saying to them, you can then consider like, am I doing that as well? Or, you can look back at your paper. And so this week, you have some space, some capacity to be able to kind of look back at it as well. This is also the time for those of you who weren't able to score your interview yet, or just kind of reflect on it and integrate it into your research. Maybe this is the week to really kind of jump on that as well. Lastly, please make sure you provide a copy of the critique to your peer that you're critiquing. Sometimes we get into that mode of assignment and we just send it to me, but obviously we really need to give it to your peers so that they can reflect on it. They'll have my comments, they'll have your comments, they can kind of wrestle with those and begin to work on the revision, which of course you have 2.5 weeks to complete. Ooh, almost 3. Wow, actually 3. You know I'm not good with numbers, so don't ever quote me on anything like that. Good luck. I will be back on Thursday's lecture to set up the next set of one-on-one conferences that we're going to be doing. Next week, we're going to be in conference again. Like I said, from now on, we're going to focus quite a bit. I'm not going to give you too many assignments because I want you to be able to look at this rough draft and to revision, re-see what it is you're trying to do. We really want to cultivate this into the best paper you've ever written so far in your scholarly career, and feel confident that over the course of this quarter, you really develop something that is worthwhile and utilizes all of the genius that you possess. Have a wonderful week, you all, and I'll see you Thursday.